What's up and welcome back, Weary Writers. It is week 2 of NaNoWriMo 2021, and we're here to talk about it. I'm Alex, and I live in Los Angeles, California.
And I'm Jay Lawrence, and I live in Berlin. So, Alex, how was week 2?
Week 2 was a bit of a challenge. I'm not gonna lie. I was not anticipating it being as challenging as it was, but I feel like I am in a better place than I was before week 2, if that makes sense.
Okay, so it's like the uphill part of the roller coaster then.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
It's funny because I feel the exact opposite. I had a much better week 2 than I did a week 1. I think that is because I got some momentum, which I was really missing in the first week, which we talked about in the last video. So yeah, I'm feeling pretty good.
Last week, we both came up with some goals that we were going to try to implement with our writing for this week, which is week 2. So remind me what your goals were again, and how close have you been during writing this week to accomplishing them?
Yeah, so my goals for this week were to get into my story mentally. Last week, I was really struggling to be in the setting, be with the characters, and that was causing me some trouble in getting the story to move forward. So I had planned on doing some mood boarding. I had to do some drawing, some actual physical sketching, and to watch movies. And so I gave myself some pretty attainable goals this week, and I really feel like I smashed it. I created a mood board, which I linked to my NaNoWriMo profile, and that's really gotten me into just kind of the mood, the vibe of the story, and it's helped a lot. I didn't actually watch any movies because I felt a little bit too guilty on that, especially because I didn't hit my word count every day this week.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with not having met that goal, though. What about you?
So one of my main goals is the goal of NaNoWriMo was to hit the word count every day. And every day that I have written, I have reached the word count. But I have not written every day. So I didn't write Thursday. Friday, I also didn't write because unlike you, I actually treated myself and went to the movies.
Nice.
But then I went to go see Eternals with Gemma Chan and Kit Harington and Richard Madden. So that was.
Like it?
You know what? It was funny because when I came out of the movie, I was like, holy shit, this, like, I hadn't even thought about it going in. I just really wanted to see it because I really like all the actors in it. But after the movie, I was like, wow, this is giving me so many ideas for my story. Like, the two have nothing to do with each other, really. But just like some of the elements in the movie, I was like mentally taking notes as I was watching it. So that helped. But I didn't write Friday either, just because I had a lot on my plate on Friday. But when I got back into writing for Saturday and Sunday, it was so easy for me to meet my word count goal. And another one of my goals from last week was to also complete chapters and not move on to any other sections of the story that I maybe wanted to write more until I had completed a chapter. And so that's what I did all last week. The days that I was writing, I was only working on the same chapter, and I actually finished it on Sunday. But when I finished the chapter on Sunday, it brought up a new issue for me. And it was like, I didn't know where to go from there. So on Monday, I didn't write either. And I was just spending the whole day kind of brainstorming like what my next steps were. So yeah, so far as writing every day, that's been a big challenge. But at least I feel like on the days that I have written, I've made them count. So in a way, I completed some of my goals, but at the same time, didn't complete others.
That reminds me of something that I think it's Anne Lamott said in Bird by Bird.
Which I still need to read that. Sorry. You really gave it to me. You gave it to me so long ago. I still need to read it.
You do. It's really quite good. But she said and I hope I'm not misquoting, and this was in another book, but
Should I grab it?
to end, no, you're not going to be able to find it. To end every writing session feeling like you can write more, or feeling like you know what you want to write next, so that when you pick it up the next day, you already have a thread to start pulling, and not to exhaust yourself and go beyond where your comfort is on one writing day, because then your well is dry, basically. Just an amendment. It's Anne Lamott, not Anna. So sorry about that.
That's okay.
Oh,
we'll put a link or something for the book if anybody's interested in reading it.
Yeah, it is. I really do recommend it. It was actually one of the first craft books I ever read when I first started getting interested in writing professionally. For me this week, I did hit my word count, but I hit it today in one big chunk. I was behind from mid last week, actually, after Wednesday.
I remember that.
Yeah. And all weekend I struggled to hit my word count because, again, of external circumstances. I have a new dog, and she is demanding all of my time. And I want to be spending that time with her. And so I could only focus for about 15 minutes at a time. Things have kind of normalized now with her, and I'm able to get larger chunks of working time in. For example, today I did 3,700 words.
Holy cow.
And so I was able to kind of make up all that deficit, and I am exactly where I need to be for the end of day 10, which is where we're at.
Yeah, but you weren't feeling so great as you were in the deficit, though. Like,
no,
because I remember getting some very troubling text messages from you. Oh my God, I can't. I need to make up these words, and I need help. Help me.
Yes, well, that was very much last week.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, hi, Cat.
Cat Cameo, sorry. So speaking of word counts and catching up, how much progress would you say? I know we're only on day 10 of NaNoWriMo, but how much progress would you say that you've made in your story overall? Because we're both writing epic fantasy. And for anybody who doesn't know, like, the usual word count for epic fantasy minimum is about 100,000 words. So usually twice as much as anyone would write in a Nano month.
I feel like I am on track to hit that 100,000 for the complete story. I, at 16,000, am just bringing my protagonists out of their ordinary world. And so and there's so much more that needs to happen. I really do think that I'm going to be able to get to that 100,000
by the end of this month, or
no,
just in general.
Just in general, please. I'm going for the word count goal, not the completed story goal.
Yeah.
But that being said, I am not writing complete chapters like you are. So Alex, tell me about your progress.
So like I said, there have been 3 days this week out of the 7 that I have not actually drafted. So I think the Nano word count that you're supposed to be at this week is like, what is it, 1,600 and
as of today, it's
or 16,000.
16,663.
Yeah, and I am at 10,400 and some change. So I'm a little bit behind, but yeah, it really came down to getting stuck after finishing this one chapter that I was working on, because I'm writing the story from multiple POVs, and I had done a lot of work on this one character, and I had done a lot of outlining and drafting for her, like, part 1 chapters in the story, but I hadn't done that for all of the other characters that I write and want to write from their points of view. And so after I finished her first chapter, I switched to another character, and I oh my God, I felt so lost. Like I knew what his arc was, and I knew I knew his personality and everything, and I knew what his goals were, but I just didn't know what to write for him. And like that's what was really tripping me up, is just like I didn't know where to go from there. And that was what really set me back, like progress wise, word count wise. So, like, so far as how far I am into the story, I would say I'm at like a very crude, probably 10% of the book, because I've only really been focusing on this one character, and I have like 5 other characters to work on.
So let's talk about what we struggled with this past week.
I feel like I've already touched on a couple of my struggles, but
Yes, you did.
I think this whole week has just been one big struggle. Like it's just been like pulling teeth to really get into the story. I was really struggling with like a lot of the planning, and I felt lost. I was like, wait, what is the point of my story again? Like what's the arc of this book? What am I doing with my life? And
The existential questions.
I was really having that existential question, like with this story, because I've been working on this story for 2 years. With this story, there have been so many times where I have felt that I'm not a good enough writer to write this story the way I feel like it deserves to be written. That, and like I haven't been sticking to a writing schedule. Like my work has kind of changed hours and stuff throughout the week, and that was throwing me off. And then the time change, even though I wanted the time to change, that threw me off too. And so like picking a time to just sit down and dedicate to this story was really difficult. And it ended up, you know, every day just getting pushed to the end of the day, and, you know, just almost like an afterthought, which I didn't want to do, because I feel like this is something that I really want to work on, and this is a story that I really care about. It shouldn't be the afterthought at the end of the day. You know, I feel like I need to be dedicating more to it.
Yeah. Well, I definitely don't think that you're alone in feeling like the project, that you're not the right writer for the project. I have thought that almost on a daily basis with my work in progress as well. And I do think that it's quite common, especially during NaNo, because there is a lot of pressure to get the story out. And
Yeah.
you know, as writers, we want it to be perfect the first time. And so that's something that I was struggling with a lot, was not editing while I was going. In
Mm-hmm.
the beginning, what I had planned on doing was writing in the morning and then editing what I had written the previous day in the
I remember
evening.
you saying that. Yeah.
No, no, ma'am. Because I was ending up just completely hacking all of my word count and feeling completely depressed.
So other than the temptation to go back and edit what you have already written, what were some other things that you were struggling with this last week?
So similar to what you've been struggling with, finding a consistent time to sit down and write has been a struggle. There are days when I wake up gung-ho, ready to sit at my computer at 8 o'clock and get my words out first thing.
Mm-hmm.
Those are really great days. Then there are other days when, you know, I prioritize other things in the morning and then sit down in the afternoon. And then there are days when I don't write at all until 9 o'clock. And then the guilt and shame set in, and I end up, you know, staying up until midnight trying to get the words in.
Yep.
And so I'm missing that consistency. And that has been a struggle for me, and something that I really want to work on for next week. Other than that, I think that I have not been struggling with anything else.
That's awesome. So going into week 3 next week, what are your main goals that you're going to focus on?
I'm going to focus on getting into a schedule that's consistent. I'm going to focus on pushing a little bit harder to move the story forward faster, so that I can get the rising action down, so that I can focus on the climax the week after. So it's a week 4. And then also to work on my villain a little bit more. I've been working on my protagonist and my secondary lead character, but I have been ignoring my villain because he just hasn't come in yet. What about you? What are your goals for next week?
So because this past week I really struggled with transitioning between the character who I had finished her chapter for and moving on to the next character, I think one of my goals is just to like pick a character of the week and really, like just ignore everybody else's spaces in the story and their arcs and just focus on one character. Because when I did that on Monday with my male lead character, it really helped get me like recentered again in my writing and with the story. And I need to do that for every character. So this week, the focus is going to be on him because last week it was on a different character. And then the next week, I'm going to pick somebody else and just have that character of the week and focus on their personalities and their arcs and their motivations and their relationships with all of the other characters in the story, but just focus on one character and you like at least plan one chapter for each of those characters each week. And I think I'm going to mood board a little bit and watch the movies for more inspiration. So I have something fun to do.
There you go. Give yourself some attainable goals. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I think my goals last week were a little too broad and like I'm just going to outline for a bunch of different characters. No, don't do that. I just need to focus on one at a time and really slow down and take my time with it.
Great. I can't wait to see how that goes for you next week. So just to wrap up, fun question, the end of the session. Tell me just an absolutely bonkers sentence that you wrote this week. Something that just didn't make any kind of sense, but it came out the way it came out.
Okay, so for a little bit of context, this was one of the sentences in the action chapter, and along with me being a shitty action writer, it was probably like close to midnight. I was just trying to get that word count goal, and so this sentence came out. For context, these two characters are in the middle of this like gladiatorial arena in this fight situation, and the female character is using her magic to heal the male character. That's the setup for this fabulous sentence. So I wrote, keeping her energies on him, her eyes roamed the arena to the other gates, the nearest monster snapping its jaws underneath the gate, attempting to crawl under before the gate had been fully lifted. How many times did I write the word gate in that sentence? It was so awful. I knew as I was writing it, I was like, this is not what I want to write.
Those are the sentences you just let go and you just keep going. You're like, I'll fix that later. That's an editing problem.
That's a problem for future me.
Exactly.
All right. So what was your shitty zombie brain worst sentence this week?
So it's not necessarily that it was a bad sentence. It's just a sentence that doesn't really have a lot in it. And I want to just go back to what you were saying about how NaNo kind of forces you to just, develop names and descriptions of monsters or whatever. See, I think it's the exact opposite. I don't do that.
I think yeah, because you had shown me like a screenshot from your writing. Okay. Yeah. So let's hear your sentence.
So to keep things flowing and to like keep myself from getting tripped up so I can make the word count, what I do is, when I come across a new character that comes in or a new element that comes in that I don't have a name for yet, I just put in parentheses name. So and then I know when I'm going back through in the editing, I can control find all of the parentheses and make sure that I fill everything in correctly. So the sentence is, she's a fine boat, son, Name said, stroking the smooth wood while slyly but not slyly using it for support as he swayed drunkenly. I was just with old man Name and Name at Name's Tavern. So there are 1, 2, 3 characters that I don't have names for in this sentence, and one like place name that I don't have. But like, it just, that sentence says nothing. It's just
no, yeah, it's got a lot of redacted sections.
Yes, redacted information. Anyway, great conversation. I wish you all the best luck going into week 3.
I wish you all the best of luck as well. And to everybody else who's participating in NaNo 2021, we wish you all the best and we wish you happy writing.
Happy writing.